Welcome to the final episode of Season 1 of Barb's Fresh Eyes. We're very excited that we made it through Season 1 because in addition to being a business leader, a founder, and a speaker, it's official now, I'm a podcaster. And I have to say, the response has been nothing short of spectacular and surprising. Even my 92-year-old mother loved it. And folks that I haven't connected with in a long time reached out to say this was really useful. Like the text I got from my great friend, T, who I always see as one of the most successful people, both at work and in life, that I know. She listened to the podcast with Chris Marino and sent me this text in all caps that said, "I am stuck. And I need help getting unstuck." And it's led to some great conversations that we've had. And she's got tremendous forward momentum in getting unstuck. Here's what this triggered for me. Stuck happens to all of us. And over a lifetime, it will happen often. And it's often outside of our control. So learning how to get unstuck isn't a one-time thing. It's actually a really useful mindset. So you might be wondering where this obsession, and that's what it is for me, with getting unstuck comes from. Well, after working for a long time at American Express and then consulting with so many different brands across many diverse industries, I see too many people in the stuck gear. And being stuck really affects us. It affects our health, our stress, our productivity, our innovation. It actually can be pretty miserable. Every time in my career or my life, when I was stuck, focusing on getting unstuck actually led to not just getting unstuck, but this period of tremendous growth every single time. So guess what my latest unstuck action is? It's this podcast. I know the power of really getting unstuck, and I really want to share it with all of you. But I was getting stuck because I couldn't get the message out. It was frustrating me. And like Andrea mentioned in one of our podcasts, I felt kind of demotivated. And when we started, I was completely out of my comfort zone. I didn't know if anyone was going to listen. And if they did listen, I wasn't sure this was going to be helpful. And by the way, I hate looking at myself on screen and hearing my voice. So those were other little hurdles that I had to get over. And finally, with this podcast, I didn't know what was going to come up. There was a moment in episode 4 with Andrea Zaretsky that I'd love to kind of reflect on. So while we were doing this, my producer, Jeff, sent me a Slack that said, "Tell them the moment," which I didn't do. And I was too frightened to share it during the episode. I was working with Andrea and we were talking about team talent and people who weren't really performing. And I didn't think anybody was around, but there were people around and we were in a public space, people who could hear us. And we were clearly talking about some sensitive information. And I shouldn't have done that. And I was with Andrea and she shut me down finally and gave me grace. Like she called me out and we stopped, but she gave me grace. And it's really become a lifelong lesson of leading with vulnerability because we're all human and we will all recover from those moments. The way you recover from those moments is trust, and trust starts with trusting yourself. Okay, so let's talk about the hard truth and the choices we need to make. And here's the reality. We all seem to be afraid of or run from change, but I actually think change is very natural. The seasons change, we change. Look at a 1-year-old versus a 5-year-old. That's life. Change is all around us, and our minds and bodies are actually programmed to change. But for some reason, we seem to resist it. And that's challenging because life happens. Life events happen, good and bad. We can't control them, but we do have a choice in how we respond. So here's a life event that happened to me that I'm pretty sure happens to everybody at some point. I lost my dad. And in addition to losing him as a father and a grandfather, I lost him as a mentor for my business. He too had his own business and was always the guy pushing me forward. For years, I was like, I think I want to start a consulting firm, but it's not quite right yet. And one day he finally just said to me, stop waiting for things to be perfect. That's never going to happen. Just go do it. And he was a little gruff, so I kind of got the message. So when I lost him, I lost that mentor. It was a deep loss, and I was stuck. I got unstuck by really thinking about how can he stay with me and inspire me to go forward. You don't move on, but I can move forward. And that's what I did. And to this day, it's been 8 years. He's still the guy in my head who's saying, come on, move forward, go do that podcast. So let's talk about the choice. Everybody says that change is hard, but everything is hard. So you have to choose your hard. Getting unstuck is definitely an effort, but so is staying stuck. At least when you get unstuck, you have hope of forward movement. I love what Tatiana says about being highly uncomfortable, and that's a good sign. It means you're moving forward.
Most of your day should feel highly uncomfortable. And so you said I get antsy. That's how I always knew. Like if I knew what the day brought and I was sort of like relaxed about it, it's time.
If you feel that little bit of antsy, that might be your signal to start moving. And the first step in getting unstuck is acknowledging that you are stuck, just like T did. So this episode is really meant for me to reflect back to you what I learned from our 4 brilliant and wonderful guests. And what we've identified is really 4 paths to getting unstuck. All of these steps, paths, whatever you want to call them, they are anchored in trusting yourself. And step 1 that we really heard a lot from Jenn on was trust your self-reflection. The answer is in you. Ultimately, you will know if you're stuck, and you will know if you're getting unstuck.
And I'm really proud that I feel like I am the most calibrated version of myself right now, being able to wear both of those hats and not feeling like they are constantly in tension with one another.
Jenn really brought something to the table in this notion of being the most calibrated version of myself. And that isn't just to help you get unstuck when you're stuck. In my mind, it's also a way to avoid getting stuck again, because you're constantly recalibrating when you might be heading down the wrong path. And it's really driven by very high self-awareness. The next step on the pathway is acknowledging your vulnerability and, in fact, really leaning into it.
It's hard and it's uncomfortable, and I think it's the most important thing to getting unstuck, because I believe that everybody, when you start a new job, is feeling vulnerable.
So what Chris really demonstrates is that embracing vulnerability is really the key to building trust. And if you have trust for yourself, you can shoot your shot. It's so powerful. So the third path is really trust the stimulus of the external. Get outside of yourself.
I think if you ask people to describe me over the course of my career, they'd say I'm a restless person. And that's something I know about myself. I have a restless curiosity. I want to continuously be learning new things, finding new opportunities. To me, that's stimulating. So at those moments when I'm starting to feel a little stuck, I look for the white space. Is there something new that I can learn? Is there an opportunity for me to get some coursework? Should I get involved with an industry association and hear other people's stories about how they're approaching marketing or problems? Can I build my network just to learn and be inspired by others in the field?
Getting outside of yourself is the really powerful way to unlock new thought patterns. And it reminds you that you can do hard things or new things or different things. That skill could really be required when you're working on getting unstuck. And finally, the fourth path was trust in a brighter future with Tatiana Zlotsky.
To this day, I often reflect on why it's important for all of us to still think like an immigrant, right? Because what do you have to do as an immigrant? You have to not be afraid. You have to think like an underdog. You have to think like an outsider. And you have this constant, relentless focus on a brighter future. because that's what you came here to achieve.
This was so interesting to me when you hear Tatiana's story. And I've known Tatiana for a long time. It was kind of new insights about her and this idea of having an immigrant's mindset, because whatever you left, what you believe is where you are is better, and there's still opportunity in the future. And she really trusts whatever challenge that she takes on, it'll be better than where you are now. So getting stuck and getting unstuck is serious business, but it doesn't all have to be serious all the time. And the most important thing about this is starting with knowing that you're stuck. Let's look at the law of physics, right? The hardest part in the world of motion is going from inert to movement. That's why trusting yourself, being kind to yourself, saying, like T did, I am stuck, opens the door to determine what's next. And it's a big exhale. You're going to feel better. Who doesn't want that? When my dad, who I mentioned earlier, was feeling stuck, he had a little trick that he did. He would take out his hand and go, "Mwah, Emmett, I love you." It was a reminder that we got to love ourselves and trust ourselves to be successful in this world, at work and in life. So let me offer that as a little tool for you to take forward. And I really want to encourage you not to look back. In my consulting practice, I start by not uncovering every detail of why you are where you are. We can get mired in this when we're feeling stuck. What's more productive is to actually know your current starting place. You're here. You got here for a bunch of different reasons. Let's move forward. That's where the joy is, and that's where we want to go. And a reminder, getting stuck happens to all of us all the time, and it actually doesn't matter how you got stuck. What matters is getting unstuck. So shift your focus from stuck to unstuck. And everybody says it's hard, but maybe we make it harder than it has to be. There's a few little simple things that you can take from our guests, and I got some too, about how to get started in your unstuck journey, like we were talking about earlier, right? Jenn's Post-it notes for constant recalibration. I got mine, and it's very effective.
The most important leadership tool is self-awareness. When you're feeling overwhelmed, take a page from Jenn's playbook and use her Post-it note methodology. Take a moment to ask, what is the story I need to tell myself right now? And actually post it to your computer. This simple recalibration allows you to be more present at home and a stronger leader at work.
Mine says the only way to get unstuck is to help other people get unstuck. That's what matters to me. Change up your schedule. Google something you are just curious about. And my favorite idea, listen to a new podcast. These actions will get you started. It's how you start the Start Todays. Every guest had great suggestions that I am already leaning into, and they're really useful. So my Start Today tip, look in the mirror and look at you, that person in the mirror, with fresh eyes. See yourself with fresh eyes. It may trigger some stuck to unstuck thinking for you. I've had so much fun and think it added some value to the world. So I am definitely on board for a season 2 of Barb's Fresh Eyes. And what I realize is stuck isn't just personal, it's organizational. Processes, system, and even cultures at work get companies stuck. So in season 2, we're talking about getting organizations from stuck to unstuck. And by the way, the steps are very similar to what you do as a person. So before I make any commitments to what's the content for season 2, I'd love to hear from you. What are you looking for? What would be really useful for you in your stuck to unstuck journey? Hit me on LinkedIn with DM messages or email me at barb@fresheyeson.com. And Fresh Eyes On is one word. We wouldn't be ending the final episode of season 1 without a lot of moments of gratitude. There were so many people that supported this and made it possible, and I really want to thank them. So to Chris, Tatiana, Jenn, and Andrea, my wonderful guests, not only were they generous with their time, but they were so insightful and generous with their experiences. It was really great. I also want to thank Jeff Bond and Quentin Thomas, my producers, for bringing this together. And I also want to thank my production assistant intern, also known as my husband, for all of the tech support he gave me on site. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not very tech savvy, and he was great. And finally, we have to thank a little dog named Duke, who was very good at not barking during all of our sessions. But I think in the end, the most important thank you is to you, my listeners. Thank you so much for joining and giving me feedback and comments and subscribing. It means so much to me, and I hope that it's because you got some value out of this. So until next time, please keep leading with those fresh eyes.